got a quote for you to consider, and it goes like this. I suppose it is tempting, if the only tool you have is a hammer, to treat everything as if it were a nail. So this quote resonates with me not only because I am a carpenter and in construction, I hear it in my everyday life, but I've also lived this quote. Well, what do I mean by that exactly? Well, on the job site, construction site, oftentimes people will tell you, or your supervisors are going to tell you, hey, there's a right way to do it and there's a wrong way to do it. But what I've found through my experience is that, yes, there can be nail-like problems that can be solved with hammer-like solutions. But oftentimes there are more than one way to get something done. And that quote reminds me of that. And specifically, what are we talking about today? Well, we're talking about humanistic educational theory. And what that is not, or what it maybe came from, is behaviorism. And that is a reward certain behavior and perhaps punish negative behavior. And over time, we should be developing better habits. That's behaviorism. But it is, as you can see, very hammer and nail style theory. What came out of that was from Abraham Maslow and Carl Rogers in the 1950s. They really pioneered this humanistic style education to give a explanation for the whole person of learning, a holistic approach, meaning taking into account their thoughts, their feelings, their experiences up to this moment now that they're sitting in your class, not just a hammer and nail approach. So with this approach, then, what is the role of a teacher? Well, in this sense, they're more of a role model, example, or facilitator, and a lot less of a lecturer. Their goal is to create a safe space for learning and development. And essentially in any class that I want to be in is I want to develop a sense of respect between everybody and kindness. If you can do that, we're going to have a nice place for learning. We want to encourage and engage students to find the things that they are passionate about, and in turn that's going to help them self-motivate to continue to learn. And I know I really appreciated that as a student. We also want to give choice to students about what kind to self-express their own learning paths, certain situations where we can assign multiple assignments or things of that nature. We also want to give them opportunity for peer and for group projects. And of course, as teachers, we want to get excited, enthusiastic about certain subjects, or all our subjects really, and that will rub off on our student. Now, what is the student's role? Well, because it is such a student-centric theory, we really are asking the student to make the choice to learn themselves and what they want to learn. So it's up to them to do it. When they do make that choice, learning is going to become that much easier. It's also based around self-evaluation. So the student will be essentially marking themselves and revealing that to the teacher. And at the end, we've already said this, but the student should become self-motivated to continue to learn in this class and hopefully for life. Pros and cons. Well, pros, it promotes self-actualization and personal growth. It takes into account a person's feelings and motivations while they are learning. That's holistic, and it treats students as powerful, capable. It empowers them. Cons? Well, at the end of every class or course, we could have students leaving with different knowledge sets, which could be difficult sometimes. It does tend to be overly focused on positivity and may not be realistic. And for example, the core of humanism tells us that all learners want to be the best that they possibly can at all times, and we're fundamentally good as humans. And we sure hope that's true, but it's not always realistic every day, is it? And the student-centric centricism is attention-grabbing, but what the student chooses to actually learn may not be a core competency when they're completely finished the course. So I started with a quote. Allow me to end with a quote by Carl Rogers, and I think this sums up humanism nicely. The only man who is educated is the man who has learned how to learn. Thank you.